tonight on a very special edition of Best Ball Breakfast draft with the winner of Best Ball Mania 2 and a sack of potatoes.
Oh, another Influencer 101 for the backward hats, bro. Rigged!
Zach Ertz with no Tyler Algier bringback? Yikes.
You reached around for correlation? That's a no-no. You ADP bros disgust me. How about you just live a little?
Handcuffing might actually be a way to get unique if the field's avoiding it.
The Wi-Fi at this resort is a disaster?
These fucking streamers don't have player takes.
What if a piss boy draft is the room you need?
Oh!
Liam Murphy, famously the winner of Best Ball Mania 2, here joining me for a special late night edition of Best Ball Breakfast. Liam, how are you doing? You said you're going to be drinking coming off of a home league draft.
Yeah, just came off my home league draft. Dude, I got to give it up to you, man. You bring the production value to another level. And, you know, the people have to know this is your first stream in the brand new office.
Well, Liam, when it takes you 9 months to just create a YouTube channel, everything is going to seem incredible to you.
You know, I'm an optimist, Pete. You got to tell a story in your lineups. You got to be surprised in the day-to-day. And I'm happy to bank this with you. I couldn't think of a better way. You know, like we kind of have this teacher-student relationship. You know, we cross the lines of who's doing what for what topic. But excited to hopefully bank this down and produce a stream people have to watch for eternity.
That's right. That is the ultimate goal, is just creating content that is incredibly evergreen, in the same way people are circling back to the draft Bime 4 and I did last year. But yeah, a lot of people don't know. I was listening to you. You did Neil Orfield's podcast recently. He has a great podcast over there on the Stochastic Network. And you were telling a little bit of the backstory about our humble beginnings as a chess coach and chess prodigy, although I use the word prodigy pretty loosely there.
Yeah, I mean, it started, you know, I have been someone who have played tournament level fields forever, whether it's poker or DFS. And dude, I remember being in my my East Harlem apartment and just crying in tears at this man's character at the 1-2 tables, like fucking with the hardos in the 1-2 streets, being like, oh, stacking up the ones. And then, you know, COVID hits. It's a whirlwind. Everyone's trying to figure out their new life. And I don't know. I'm on YouTube one day and I think I just saw you and I was like, is that the man's like talking about DraftKings? And from there, I think is how I found Best Ball. So it's been a holistic journey, or at least I found Underdog that way, I think.
Yeah. And, you know, you've had, what has been, like, you now carry the champion's belt. Have you felt the pressure of being an underdog ambassador? You're clearly just living it up. I mean, I check in on your channel and you're just like drunk drafting with 19 of your college buddies. I mean, like, what's the deal over here?
Pete, we have no vision, you know, like I think we're threading a needle of trying to provide actionable content and having no agenda at all. And so just figured I'd stream, learn a little bit about the content making process, getting ready to launch my chess stuff pretty soon, which I'm looking forward to. Don't know what I'm going to do once the NFL season starts, but, you know, you learn from the best, you come from the best tree, you know, like Dave Kitchen, he may be the trunk, but you're a solid branch in my journey, if not the trunk. So
that's all. That's all any of us can ask for, is to be a branch, a small twig in the you know, the sequoia-sized roots that David Kitchen has left within the best ball industry.
Absolutely, man. But is this a picture? Is that you dunking a basketball in the background?
Oh yeah, this was it was up on
my
office.
You see that back there?
No, that was on my. I had that on my backdrop for a while. That was from the Top Shot days. There was this snapshot moment when Top Shot was pumping, and I was one of the first people to make video content. And so this guy, Dean Sauce, a terrific artist, he created like what he called the Top Shot Mount Rushmore. And I somehow snuck in on that because I had made my Top Shot Bro video. And I'm with Roham, you know, the inventor of Dapper Labs and all this stuff. So I really pulled a fast one over on the Top Shot community in regards to getting.
You're not giving yourself enough credit. Like, I feel like you onboarded a lot of people to the NFT, to like just the NFT space. Like you were instrumental in introducing the common man, I would say, which I include myself as part of.
There was no promo code with NBA Top Shot, so it was all for naught. Someone did ask if I had received my payment for this draft here. Is this like a little? I mean, last I checked, $12.50 was all you owed. What's this extra $75?
Just in case there's any question about any tax sides, I figured I'd always be on the good side of the large field payout.
Incredible. So how many BBM 3s do you have left? Are you maxed?
I have let me make sure I give you an accurate quote here. I have for Underdog 9 left, which you are going to be one of my last, if not the last, guest streams I do on my channel.
Yeah, let's plug that. When did we book that for? Thursday?
We're doing that this Thursday at 11 or 1. I need to check back on that time.
Yeah. 1 p.m. So we'll be doing that over on Liam's channel. We'll make sure to
could be my last stream ever. Never know with my channel.
You do never know.
I'm as surprised as you are when I launch a stream.
So how are you feeling about, are you just in, happy to be here mode? You've done the math, you've crunched the numbers, you know how hard it's going to be to win this again, much less even get back to the finals. So what's the mindset heading into this massive slate we have this year?
Definitely excitement. I mean, again, I think you got to be an optimist if you're playing some of these contests. And, I'm playing some high stake stuff where definitely putting some skin into the game across different platforms and have a large volume of drafts to finish off. I just ordered a new monitor. So I'm going to be able to multi-table the contests that look like they're going to overlay. I don't need to worry about that for Underdog. I'm on a good pace there. Obviously with Underdog, I look at some of my teams, I think they're really good. You just look at the numbers and it's like, damn, it's tough to make that finals. But I mean, you say that, but then you mentioned your stream with Eric. That's a legendary stream. You guys put a top 10 team on stream. And we look at Justin Herzig, it's clearly not a blip where, okay, he won one year, but he had a team that was I don't know, top 5 in the DK again, so I don't know. We'll be an optimist until all my teams are dead, is how I feel.
What everyone in the chat is asking for your exposures. Have you been very shady or close to the vest on not revealing these? What's going on there?
I haven't revealed them. Part of that content play, reveal them when, I guess now, right? September, I'll reveal them in September. It's not a perfect, snapshot, obviously, because I've done guest streams and also, it's different platforms, but I don't know, man, I'm excited to talk to you about some of the strategy about best ball this year, because part of me feels like I'm a worse drafter as you get. My brain is mush at this point, just the volume of drafts we've all done. Part of me thinks I get sharper at this time. I definitely know I had some good semifinals teams that came around this time of year last year, but excited to jump into your pulse on the best ball landscape.
Well, yeah. I mean, one of my favorite things about doing these streams with guests is it kind of breaks you out of cruise control mode, right? Because we all have the certain things we like to do in drafts, the things that feel comfy. And whether I'm drafting with Spags or last week with Eric, it's there's always a moment in the draft where I was just going to my crutch or I was going to the thing I always do. And you kind of get pulled out of that. And so that's one of my favorite things about this. But real quick to circle back, let's do a tease. Give me a range. Can I pick a number between 6 and 10 and you tell me what your exposure is for the 7th highest exposure player?
Hey,
can we
let's
get a
reveal.
teaser?
Let's reveal them now. Like why not? Part of the reason I'm so tight to the vest with exposures too is obviously I don't give a fuck about a best ball mania field or a DK Millie Maker field. Like it's
Yeah.
just so large that I don't care about the 400 people who watch my videos. But something like the DraftKings 555, I've just noted, like, of my 2,000 followers, probably most people that play that contest follow me. And they're not about to that crowd, because the way those really high stakes contests work is you'll see a condensed exposure about a bunch of people, and like one person is going to have like 4 finals teams. Like that's what happened last year. And so I don't know.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. And I'm making no money from YouTube. So like what else do I have to win by sharing my exposures?
Are you like Spags, who was champing at the bit to get Splash Play to 1,000 subs so you could just get that sweet ad revenue rolling in, roll people their Viagra ads right when you're about to hop in a draft? Is that your long game here?
That I wanted to do that just because it's like a short-term attainable goal. But I'm not gonna lie, like I definitely felt some burnout from drafts and streams, which I'm sure to you is like, okay, rookie, with the amount of volume you do, but like we don't have the vision yet. We have no sponsors, so my YouTube is what it is. It's me firing off the hip, and we'll see what lands.
All right, I just dropped Liam's. I did this for our Splash Play account. I know it would bring a tear to Spags' eye to get to 1K. Liam's sitting at 142, so we're at what, 158 more we need to 1K. I bet we can easily get that to 900 tonight, and then the rest will be on him. So subscribe to Liam's channel.
Build
here.
a stronger branch here.
In exchange, though, you do need to release a couple exposures.
All right, I got my. I'm looking at my exposures. What do you want here?
I want to know your second highest running back exposure.
There's 2 players tied, and one of them I feel good about, and one of them I feel sheepish to share. Wait. Let me filter this for the Best Ball Mania 3.
Okay.
Okay. All right. My second highest running back exposure is Nyheim Hines. The logic is, I mean, he used to be able to get him in like the 170s, the 180s, the 190s. I've been on him the whole time. I think something else that it's like shown true in best ball is the news blip about Nyheim Hines being part of the offense was like very early in the offseason. I already liked him more because I just thought Carson Wentz was very bad for check down running backs. And like we saw Hines smash with Rivers. I drafted a lot of Hines last year. That didn't work out. I think Hines with Matt Ryan is like a perfect pairing. Questionable pass game competition between Alec Pierce and Campbell and Mo Alley Cox, where it's like you could see Hines being the 2 on some weeks. Runs like a 4.27 40, like freak, right? And so never ever is going to be Rashad Penny, but I could definitely see giving you 3 to 4, I don't know, 20-point weeks on a good season, and pretty solid floor. And he used to be really cheap. And so I've cooled off taking him as he's like climbed to the 12th, but I had a lot earlier in the offseason.
Yeah, it was so funny how that worked, right? Because people in general don't love those pass catching backs. We've seen JD McKissick be cheap all offseason. And Nyheim Hines was there too. He was sliding, like you said, 160, 170. And then there's one report from Frank Reich. They're like, yeah, we're going to use him more as a pass catcher. We're going to split him out wide. And then everyone's like, all right, I guess I got to draft him at 130. It was like, I don't think anything changed. That was always well within his skill set. I think the thing too, and I like Hines. I think he's probably in my top 10 running backs as well. I'd have to
4.3840. I'm sorry, Boots in the chat there. 4.3840.
Oh yeah, God, how dare you shave a tenth of a second off of his 40? The thing I was talking about with Hines too is I do think his contingent value is maybe a little suspect in that if Jonathan Taylor got hurt, I'm pretty sure we'd see Phillip Lindsay getting, 10 plus carries a game. But yeah, he's an exciting guy that gives you that pass catching plus a little juice. Like you said, I mean, the man does backflips in the end zone after he scores.
Yeah, like a little bit of film take there. Like I have vivid memories of like the checkdowns to him and him housing at 34. And it's interesting because I'm totally out on McKissick. Strictly, it's a Carson Wentz thing. And like I try to get like in the heads of these players. Like quarterbacks are weirdos, right? And it's thin. I'm not gonna
walk me through. What's it like? Do you put on an eye mask? Do you lay in kind of a hyperbaric chamber? How do you get inside the mind of Matt Ryan?
Like if you're trying to think, hey, I'm Aaron Rodgers, and your option is smoking weed or not smoking weed. You know what choice you're taking there to get in the head of Aaron Rodgers and what wide receivers to target.
There you go. Let's do another exposure. People, what's the Gabe Davis? Give us the Gabe Davis number this year.
By the way, did you notice this jersey I got on?
I do just notice it now that you pointed out.
This is actually a Stevie Johnson jersey.
Oh, rug again.
Deep fake
rug
there.
again.
Gabe Davis, this would be higher if I didn't have guest streams. It's at 39%.
And you say it'd be higher if you didn't have guest streams.
Because I would have taken more in those June drafts when he was going in the 6th round.
Yeah.
And part of it's, I don't know, man. It's just like you think about who's going to score touchdowns. Gabe Davis comes top of mind. He's kind of a brand play at this point. And it's weird because I like Steph Diggs too, but you could totally see Steph Diggs cooling off. And it's just wanting a piece of the Bills offense. Bit of a homer, bit of a sharp play, you could say.
So I have no problem. I mean, Gabe Davis is a smash. Anyone who doesn't like Gabe Davis in Best Ball Mania 3 hasn't looked at the rule structure, as I said to Eric before last week. Here's the question I have for you. Give me what's the take on Singletary versus James Cook? They're ADP twins. I find myself almost splitting it down the line. What are you on, team Singletary, team Cook, team smooth out the exposures? What's the boots on the ground homer take here?
I'm a bit smooth. I'm at 17.7% Cook and 15% Singletary. And I see equal cases for both. I mean, to me, Cook is the guy who you look at and he's like a very small miss. Like he's Nyheim Hines at floor, but at ceiling, he could be whatever, Kamara-esque. And I think there is some smoke to the Bills running more to tight end, and like I could just see them flexing Cook into the slot late in the play, and taking the slot wide receiver off the field. It's part of the reason I wasn't on Crowder early. And Singletary is just like they stick with him as a runner. Maybe Zach Moss gets cut, maybe gets traded, maybe he's not as much of a thing as people have been saying. And I just think the Bills could beat up on the Bengals. Like it could be a shootout, but they could beat up on them. And it's later in the season, their O-line did not fit what they wanted to do last year to run the ball. Like they had Darrell Williams, who is a very solid guy, but he's not athletic. And they want guards that can like pull and block at the second level. And now they have those pieces if their O-line's healthy. So I like Singletary. I like Cook. But if I had to choose one, I would choose Cook.
Yeah, that's fair. And then what is your read on this Zach Moss situation? He's had a very good camp. Then there are rumors that they're maybe trying to showcase him for a trade. Do you think he has a role here? Is this a non-factor? Because we've seen what the Zach Moss experience is. And it's generally like, hey, if there's, 90 mile per hour wind gusts, we'll use him against the Patriots. But otherwise, we don't have much use for him.
Yeah, it's weird where I think a lot of times in the NFL, like we just don't get as much information as we think we get. Where 2 years ago, if you think about Singletary, he kind of went through some injuries, and that's why he was so cheap last year, because he was coming off injury and he didn't produce. I think some of that could be said for Zach Moss, where he was more injured than we knew as the public last year. I knew there was like some, murmurs of surgeries and whatnot. And so part of me wants to say, hey, he's a talented pick. He has 2 years on his contract. The Bills want to keep him at least as like, let Singletary walk next year. Then you have Moss and Cook. Part of me says, some teams use the preseason to showcase guys they want to trade. Like
Right.
maybe they're trying to recruit whatever they can get from Moss. I'm inclined to believe they're going to hold on to him. He's a really solid third running back, and he could get some goal line work. Like, I don't think he is a piece you need to draft because he could score something absurd. He could score like absurd 10 touchdowns and never be a piece you need because he also has like 20 yards in those games.
Have you seen the running backs I draft, Liam? He would definitely be a piece I'd need if he has 10 touchdowns in my 0 RB builds.
Well, if he's like giving you, the point is if he's only ever giving you 8 and never 20, he's like skip, but I've drafted him a couple times. He's a fine late dart, like a ton. Like, I mean, because if Cook and Singletary goes down and he's there, like obviously he's a smash. And you could say that about any running back attached to a good offense.
All right, let's do one more exposure before we hop in the draft. The conspiracy theories are already flying. Looks like Pete is setting up to enter the draft before letting the chat know. Alpha move. I don't know. We'll keep you guys on your toes. But Willis, I do famously have 0% David Montgomery. I am kind of a smoothed out exposure bro in general, but somehow I have 0% David Montgomery. We want to know how off my rocker am I? Is Liam over or underweight the field here?
I'm underweight the field. And several of these came on the guest streams, but I'm at 7%. I'm at 7% Montgomery. I don't know, like Montgomery and Jacobs and like these two guys, Elijah Mitchell in some cases, like the guys who are like free falling somewhat. I think you should mix them in.
Yeah.
Because they're never, ever giving you the legendary season. They're almost never giving you that 25, 30-point week you need week 17 either. But they're giving you those 17 points, 15 points a lot, maybe. I mean, maybe it is more of a timeshare for Montgomery. And obviously, like the recent news is like negative at times. But I'm okay with the full fade on Montgomery. If you're like, this guy's never going to bury me, I agree with you. You're so low on Ekeler. I'm surprised by that.
I mean, for early in the offseason, I was drafting Diggs there every time.
At the 6?
Yeah.
Wait, what's the red number and what's the blue number?
The red is my exposure. The blue is a target exposure, a basket that has like Herzig, it has Karain, it has me. It's just kind of a sanity check on some of these guys.
You know how I like to tack thin edges. It's kind of why I was in on Penny and Chris Carson last year because they were playing the Lions. Ekeler plays the Rams, and last year targeting the Rams with pass catching running backs was like the nuts in DraftKings. I remember. And Ekeler is like arguably the nuts at pass catching. Not that that's going to carry over. It's thin,
Well, too bad we won't be able to get Ekeler here because we drew a top 5 pick. So my Ekeler exposure will have to live to see another day. That is definitely my one in the first round. That spooks me. I'm fine with being low on Henry. I'm fine being low on Najee. The Ekeler one is definitely the one that feels like it could burn me.
I'm similar to you with I have way more Chase over Jefferson. And it's not just because that's how ADP sorts out.
Yeah.
Like it feels like the market has decided Jefferson is a better pick than Chase. And I'm not there. Like Jamar Chase to me could be the best wide receiver in football. And, like when we all look back on it.
I'm with you. I like that take where it's like the market has decided they like Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp. And we're over here being like, hey, we might actually prefer Jamar Chase over Jefferson. I'm kind of I've had them just interchangeable for me all season. And because I've had way more 5s, I've just ended up with way more Chase. But
I go Kupp here.
Yeah, I do too.
But like Kupp Chase, it doesn't matter to me. Kupp to me is like, I don't know. What do you see as his floor season if Matt Stafford's healthy? Like total points scored.
His floor,
he scored 367 last year. We just saw.
Yeah, I'm not good with the points ranges, but I mean his floor is like a top 5.
Like 300 points, like something absurd, right? Like, and when we take Kupp, I like to stress my builds and pretend he pretty much is last year. And with that in mind, like we're counting on him to be a wide receiver for us. So like max 7, sometimes even 6 if we're getting weird with our build.
Yeah.
What's your takeaway for how different the draft landscape is this year? I've been on record saying I think it's a lot sharper this year than in years past, where like last year I had big fades. I don't have as many big fades in the first round because I think the first round is right. Like there wasn't Zeke, there wasn't Kamara, guys I had like big questions about at the top of the rounds. Like I love all these dudes at the top of the draft and like the top 6 picks because I include Ekeler. I understand if you don't. But what's your take on like the current draft landscape? And then I want to hear your take about your bind forward team that you guys did last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the draft landscape is sharp. I think even last year, everyone pretty widely agrees that the ADP on Underdog is pretty efficient for the most part, as far as projecting season-long median points. Like it doesn't get any better than it does on Underdog. There's obviously stuff you can exploit. But the thing I've even noticed the field getting better at this year is just structural drafting, right? Because the ADP can be good and people can still mess up structures. And obviously we're in our bubbles in the Discords and, Deposit Kingdom, Spike Week, ETR. And these guys, like when I see these rosters, like people draft really fucking good teams. And when I look through the boards too, I'm seeing 3, 4, 5 teams that I'm like, any of these teams could advance out of this group because the players, you have the safety net of the ADP and then the structures are good. And so then to me, I've just been thinking, how much more do I need to push outside of my comfort zone with getting unique? I've been really trying to prioritize specifically in the later rounds, taking guys who are drafted in sub 10% of drafts, just really kind of fully embracing the DFS mindset to what's going on here, because good structure is now table stakes in BBM3 as far as I'm concerned.
That's how I felt last year even. Like I know a lot of people were just structure will get you there. And I mean, like Jeff Wilson was a guy I had on a lot of my teams, and he did matter in the playoffs, right? Like he gave me usable weeks in week 15 to 16, and I drafted him knowing he was injured because I knew he would be like almost low owned for a large portion of the draft season.
Right.
So let's see what we do here. I mean, this is a range where we need to like really decide, are we grabbing Jones or Javonte or Fournette, or are we going, personally, I go AJ Brown, then Evans, then Hill.
I'm the same way. I think I'm AJB, Hill, Higgins, Evans is how I have the order for me personally.
It's all really close.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with, and I would grab Andrews too, but I'm really okay with I'm cool with an AJ Brown. Let's make this zero.
Let's just have some fun.
Yeah, let's have some fun. And I was thinking about it earlier today, and part of me thinks that the zero RB teams you build earlier in the offseason are stronger, because then those are the teams you have the Damian Pierce on, etc. But you guys built that team really late in the offseason. Is that right?
Yeah, it was last Wednesday or Tuesday when we recorded. I think it was the 24th or something. Pretty late.
That's what I'm saying. Like you guys built that very late.
Well, and it goes back to that thing, right? I mean, it's the entire push-pull of early versus late. Because late, you're dialing in on better zero running back candidates. And I mean, you could take a guy like Eno Benjamin. He's the perfect example. Some of us were drafting him as an 18th round flyer early on, and it was wish casting and hoping. And now we have pretty good confirmation that he's the number 2 back there. And now his ADP is moving up. And so it's like,
do you feel good about your narrow pool of late RB targets?
I'm not that narrow. I am very heavy on Eno though. And for me, very heavy is like double the field, and he's not getting drafted, or he wasn't getting drafted.
I think this draft landscape's different, and I think it's going to be like that some years where I don't have as many big stands as I did last year. Maybe that's like partially just like I got a lot of players 2x the field, but like I don't have a 60% player.
What do you think about this Mark Andrews slide here?
I mean, I would grab him here if he make it to us. Like I love it. And Pitts is a guy I don't have as much as I want, and it feels like everyone who's sharp on Twitter is really into the Pitts train.
I mean, I don't know if I'm one of the really sharp ones, but man, am I into the Pitts train?
I mean, we all are, right? And like, I
Yeah.
like the Week 17 matchup.
Wow.
Let's grab Andrews, right? That's an easy.
I mean, so the only other consideration here is just because of where these guys, I don't think this is probably that unique of a start, right? Because a lot of people will flip these. They'll draft Andrews in the
Yeah,
second. And
let's
get
get
AJ
unique
Brown.
the next 2 rounds. Because
Yeah.
I'm with you where I wanted to go off the board at one of our picks here, kind of a la the draft you did last year.
Yeah.
Where it's like unquestionably unique, but like smart to get off the board a little bit. But I don't know, man. I just have such conviction in our first 3 guys.
Yeah, it is like it does sting a little bit when you do the I'm trying to think if there wasn't even really anything we could have done. I guess would you say Cup, Tyreek Hill, Andrews is probably a pretty
Like let's say
pairing.
we take like Gabe Davis or someone else I like there.
Yeah.
The problem is those dudes used to be like 6th round picks.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, so we just need to look at it as we're competing against this month's teams, basically, because the winner's either drafted this month or it's drafted in May or it's drafted in June or it's drafted in July, whatever. And like, I think of the whole draft landscape like month by month like that. And so let's not stress those teams in June, May, whatever. Let's try to build the best August team and hope that that's the winner.
That's what I did a show the other day too. And I was like, I know it sounds like a simple point, and we all come into these drafts with, I love doing fucking 0RB 2772 drafts. I love those. They're so fun. And I love fucking getting Kyle Pitts in the 3rd round. Those are all things I love to do. But I also just want to draft the best possible team for the specific room I'm in. And a lot of the times that changes. We've been fielding it on Shift Chasing this season too. People want us to draft. They just want us to piss yellow, rip 8 straight wide receivers. We're like, the draft landscape has changed. Other people want to do that too. And the reason we started doing that is because the wide receiver was the best pick at every single one of those spots. That's not the case now because people are starting to value wide receivers where they should have been valued all along.
That's the tough thing about attaching your brand to a sharp strategy early is the field is not sharp. And they don't understand that you might adjust and be like, hold up, this isn't so good. Like I can't only do this one strategy anymore because no longer are 36 running backs taken in the first 3 rounds. You know, like if the field is now going elite wide receiver and then running, you know, like you're just getting pointed at one position a little too much. You know, like if you're donating points everywhere.
I mean, look at this. I mean, we're at pick 39, and there's been 1 running back pick since pick 24. I mean, the dead zone is real, and drafters are aware of it, and they sidestep it.
How do you feel about? I like to call it some fear-based drafting, where it's like any guy who's had any bit of recent negative news is like free falling multiple rounds.
Yeah,
like Breece Hall, Treylon Burks a little bit, like him scoring that preseason touchdown maybe didn't a little bit. I don't know. Like I'm prone to stick to my priors a bit, but it's I
think that's one of the only other exploitable things, right? Is reacting to people overreacting to specific news-based events that shouldn't probably. And I found that happened to myself today. I almost passed on Cam Akers at pick 80, and Spags had to be like,
hey, me too. Part of it's being smart, right? I think we should take Marquis Brown. I really like.
I'm
Marquis
with you.
Brown this year.
I am definitely on board with that.
He's like one of my on going into the season. I remember very early on, I was like, I think it goes Marquis Brown for me, and then Gabe Davis, right next to each other in the rankings, where they're 2 dudes who should score a lot of touchdowns on high volume offenses. So like Marquis Brown versus Allen Robinson. Marquis Brown is unquestionably a safer pick to me that also has a higher ceiling. Like Allen Robinson could do it for sure. He could do it. He could score 240 points, whatever. But Marquis Brown, like I have no question in his ceiling. I think he's in a better situation than last year. Hopkins could be slowing down, you know, like and I like what Eric B said here. It's so easy to overact. Agreed, man. Like Like Dameon Pierce, like where are you at on him? I've taken him in some of my higher stakes leagues just because I didn't have him in some of these PPR sites.
Well, again, part of the overreacting, right, is it's fun. You feel like you have this edge, right? You're there. It even goes back to how we were wired when we initially played, and you're like scouring for news sources, and you get the backup running back who's roll, and you pick them up on the waiver wire. Like we still all like to think that we have an information edge, but what's happening is stuff gets double counted so much that it's like the ADP starts falling. They're like, no, I'm going to fade him harder than you are. I read a different article than you did, and now we're really going to fade him. And I do think some of these free falls are pretty crazy. And like you said, the Dameon stuff, I have not been drafting him. I have a decent amount, back when he was in the 130s in that range with Rachaad White and stuff. I wish I split it more and I wasn't so heavy on White and Spiller in that same range, but man, I think it's
and that's just
way
like
too rich. Yeah,
that's like partially a lesson, but it's also partially like whatever. Let's make our pick here.
I want to hear your thoughts here. This is kind of a choose your own adventure spot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with Herbert, Mahomes, or Breece Hall, or did Godwin go?
Let's see. Godwin.
I think we should take Waller. I think we should take Waller because I think he's actually holding out for contract stuff and not.
You want to double up bully tight end?
Unless you like Breece. No.
Well, I would rather have I always take Breece clearly. So I'd rather have the Liam Bully experience. And the only reason I was just pushing us away from the QBs is because we have, outs to Hurts and Kyler as well.
Yeah. Kyler is a guy who I really feel the casual crowd is down on. Like I didn't know that going in, but I feel that by looking at DraftKings and seeing that. Like, I'm getting Kyler in these high-stakes DraftKings drafts, like, routinely at the end of the 6. Like, the market has just decided. Hurts, big gap, Kyler. And that doesn't make any sense at all to me, where it's like, Kyler's a guy who almost broke fantasy football a couple of years if he didn't get injured,
Yeah, and people, it's almost funny, too, that, you also had a few instigating events. I mean, Matthew Berry came out on national television and he's literally the poster boy for the Roto World Draft Guide and Matthew Berry's love-hate stuff this year. And so there is more of a national fantasy consensus that's really come around on Jalen Hurts. And I think rightfully so. But like you said, if you're making me choose between Hurts versus Kyler Murray, I mean, we're hoping that Hurts can put together what Kyler's already done for stretches.
Yeah, like earlier in the offseason, people just weren't sure. It was basically like, would Hurts get benched? And now the market's just been like, okay, that's not happening. And I was getting all my Hurts then, and I loved Hurts. But now it's like, okay, you're going to give me Kyler, who, what is the ding against him? Like, the ding to me is that he's called plays better than his coach, and his coach is a weirdo. Like, Cliff is just a bad play caller or whatever.
Yeah.
But Kyler's like electric.
I think it's a cocktail of things with Kyler, right? Some people referencing the video game bullshit. It was
what the hell is that?
And I'm not even saying it's just that, but then it was like, he had the, contract stuff earlier and scrubbing his Instagram. And then, he had such a fast start to the season.
And he's like a little shorter than you would think of whatever, some Chad,
And I do think they're at an interesting crossroads this year. And it is so frustrating that it really does seem like creative play calling is what is holding them back, when the whole fucking point of Cliff Kingsbury was to bring the most radical creative play calling to the league. And then he has the most vanilla offense. It's like, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah. Like I'm reading, like your comment says like every cliche. He can't see over his O-line. Like, come on now. But I mean, and I think
you can call them idiots. I call them idiots all the time, Liam.
I think Marquis Brown could be unlocked by Kyler, where Kyler's like throwing ability much better fits Marquis than Lamar.
Well, the thing about Marquis that I like, and there he does go to the Kyle Pitts team. That sucks losing out. We talked too much about this. We did the famous which is talking about your
our team is we built in late stacks. We built in like Carr is a tail end for me, and Stafford also is a guy who took a 2-round dive on that elbow news. This is a really tough place to be in the drafts.
I will say though, I feel like the quarterbacks have definitely pushed down a couple wide receivers that I'm still very excited about here.
Yeah, I would go with anyone Hopkins plus. Like if you had conviction of this group, like Thielen is old. Moore is maybe the best. Ayuk maybe has the highest spike week. London, I have a lot of because I mean he looks so good in that preseason game.
Ayuk is the guy I'm trying to boost my exposure to a little late here.
Let's do Ayuk. And we could also, let's skip Trey Lance at cost and see if there's Jimmy Fudd because he went in like the 90s in a recent draft I did today. I wouldn't be shocked to him going in like the 9th round either.
Yeah. Ayuk too, partly, I mentioned this earlier today too. I was hammering Debo early and I think you got to be careful with some of the training camp stuff, but it does really seem like Ayuk is just on a different level than he was last year when he started out the season in the doghouse, basically not even playing week 1. And I do really think that it could be a little bit more spread out this year in a way where the Debo Ayuk ADPs shouldn't be quite as big as they are. And I'm just trying to balance out my early Debo heaviness now with some more Ayuk.
I'm doing the same thing because I talked about quarterbacks being weirdo. Coaches can be that way too, where it's like Kyle Shanahan effectively either A, didn't play Brandon Ayuk because he thought he could like get the best out of him by benching him last year at expense of winning games. Like he did not put his best product on the field by benching Ayuk. I believe that. And I believe Kyle Shanahan knows that. But like, sometimes people as motivators, they think they can motivate the best out of you. And so, but I'm with you. Like, I want a lot of Debo too, because like who sees what Debo, like Debo being a 2nd round pick is not something that would happen in fantasy football years past after the season he just had.
Right. And he's the lighter version of Cooper Kupp, right? Where it's like he can regress and still pay off that ADP and still give us a couple spike weeks when it really matters. And I mean, are we really asking for much more than that?
And like, I really like drafting what I call powerful wide receivers. Like AJ Brown is a powerful wide receiver. Ayuk is too. Just
is
guys
that your
who
version
can,
of a grown ass man or a guy who
basically, just a guy who can like shrug a corner, but like real football talk, a guy who could shrug a corner off. And it's like, good luck getting this guy.
God damn it.
I mean, I don't think we should have taken Lance here.
I would have pushed to taking him there, but I get what you're saying. I mean, Devonta's clearly the guy I normally take in this range, but I like
Kirk over Devonta because I think Kirk is like unquestionably the one on his team, and Devonta.
Well, now that Visca's gone for sure.
The Visca.
Anyone else other than Kirk you would want here?
If you wanted to go Dameon Pierce, we will not get a chance at him either. If you don't think
I do not want to go Dameon Pierce.
Because like the question is Kirk worth this pick? Maybe not. It's been like, to me, why I usually go Kirk over Smith there is, again, like Smith's got legit target competition, of which we have one. Kirk does not really.
Yeah. I think Devonta is just a better player. But
agreed with that.
Not having Hurts there, I'm not opposed to that. And again, clearly I take Devonta Smith a good amount of the time. And hang on, we have breaking news, guys. Joe says all of our takes mean nothing if the coach prefers to play someone else. I thought by talking on these streams, Liam, we could manifest into existence what we wanted to happen on the football field. Is that not how this works?
I mean, I'm a big vibe guy, man. Like,
yeah.
Like if any tea leaves leads me to draft a player, like if someone was to mention the name whatever, like Adam to me at breakfast, I'm taking Adam Thielen. Like that's a sign. That's a sign. If my server's name is Adam, I'm drafting Adam Thielen.
Dude,
you gotta get some vibes in these large field GPPs.
How good would it have been if you spun up like a best ball masterclass course, draft with the winner of BBM2, learn all the secrets, and you're like, all right, guys, here's the deal. If you hear a word and it actually maps with a player in the player pool. You draft that player. And these guys are like, I'm going to need my fucking money back, dude.
I mean, I joke, but like when I'm like coin flipping players, I often ask my girlfriend, like I just name 2 players and she always chooses the fun name. You know, like Mo Alley Cox has never lost in that type of poll. But
Is
you know,
this
like
are you dating the girl from the date night when you were posting photos of you?
yes, this is from the Croc date night.
The Croc date night led to a long-term relationship.
I think we were already dating at that point, honestly.
Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was a first date for some reason.
It was not a first date night. I think I was just flexing the ring because I thought it was funny that night.
Yeah.
Deep Twitter cut right there.
Yeah. Very, very deep Twitter cut. Yeah.
I like that we took Kirk there though, because this like 8th round is where a wide receiver kind of goes goodbye.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't hate if we do 5 straight running backs right now.
Yeah.
And just, you know, like even if Tony or Renfro makes it back to us, just saying we've made our bet, we've laid our bed with our wide receivers, we laid our bed with our tight ends. If a quarterback fits, like maybe we detour for Carr.
Yeah.
We could do that, but there's like running backs that could do it in this range.
For sure. For sure. I'm always willing to push it at wide receiver, but I agree with you that there's some nice guys to anchor us here with our first running back off the board at pick 92. I mean, would you? I rarely take Renfro in this situation where we don't have a quarterback. I mean, I don't even like Renfro for this build, but would you ever try to get the double stack there? Just knowing there aren't a lot of other good.
I don't know. I feel like recently I've been jamming 4 straight running backs. I feel like Gibson is probably a guy we need to take on the Brian Robinson news where,
yeah,
I'm hoping Brian Robinson comes back fully healthy. We all do. I have a lot of Brian Robinson, and most importantly, the guy got shot, and we hope that he's healthy. Just, being good people. But Gibson never really made sense why he got so cheap. And now, I don't know. Like, that was the craziest headline I've ever read in the NFL.
Yeah. I think the one take, and I think we were talking about this with Spags earlier on Splash Play, was like, can we really, because I wasn't out on Gibson from a best ball standpoint, even with all this stuff. I was like, he's going to have his couple spike weeks. Like, him as a run kind of change. My question is, can we actually project more volume onto him with Robinson out, or is the team just done with him from like a heavier load standpoint?
If it's not Gibson, it's Curtis Samuel, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
But like, it has to be, it's not McKissick getting a ton of carries. And I don't know. It's just like, is Gibson good at football? I would say yes. And like, floor Washington is winning 7 games if like their defense is fine. I feel and they're pushing for the playoffs in a weaker NFC. Like, he's a guy who just gives us enough glue that we can like, we're planning to like point the room at wide receiver, and he's just giving us those 12, 10, 4, like, we're trying to absorb all the Gibson points and really the next 4 running backs we're trying to do that with.
Would you have taken Gibson over Penny if Penny fell?
I would have taken Penny.
Okay, I was going to say.
Just because Penny won me $1 million, he plays the Jets, and you don't do what Penny did last year and not be good at football.
Yeah, Penny is very good. Man.
We're coming to
our Bills, our Bills running back choice.
And it's like, I don't know. This build almost asks for Singletary a little more, but I'm just more. What's your lean on it?
Well, you can see my lean is I've been taking Singletary a little bit more, but I'm with you. The range of on like real zero, we're going to take James Cook here as we bleed the clock. As
like Dak too is like a guy who is interesting there.
The range of outcomes on James Cook, as you said earlier, is extremely wide. And
But like floor, like Nyheim Hines, right? Like
Right.
he's never a 0.
And if that thesis is true, and I think Devin Singletary is really good. I think he's underrated. But when he's really smashed is when he's had the entire backfield to himself. And if our thesis is that James Cook is going to have that floor and is going to be somewhat of a fly in the ointment no matter what, then it's like, wouldn't you rather play it through that? And if he is Alvin Kamara light, then you're really catching the high end outcomes. Whereas even if he's not great, but he's serviceable, he's still eating into Singletary's pass catching work.
Yeah, and the biggest question to me is, like a lot of sharp, whatever, college analysts, they talk about the weight of the prospects. And it's like, James Cook is, I think, 5'11". Like, can't he add 15 pounds in the NFL? Like, he comes from Georgia. Like, he comes from a blue blood program where he probably was in the weight room. But I don't know. Like, if he adds if he added 10 pounds, he's like Alvin Kamara on paper, kind of. And I mean, the organization was done with Singletary 2 years ago when he was injured. I think Singletary is very good at running the football. We know he's a terrible pass catcher. And the way Cook gets there is either if they do these 2 tight end stuffs, he's just like quasi slot wide receiver. He could have a goal line role, surprisingly. And to me, he just makes the Bills offense like way more scary. I think Singletary is good, but like Cook could make the Bills terrifying.
And also, if this Zach Moss stuff is all smoke and mirrors, I mean, this offense and this backfield can completely support James Cook and Singletary outperforming their ADPs if it's just the two of them, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't like Singletary as much for managed because I generally don't want to be betting against a Josh Allen passing game. Not only because it's like the Bills are good at passing the ball, but also because Josh Allen can be that running back for power options. So he's like a scary running back to bet against that for managed. But for best ball, it's whatever.
Yeah, although I do really think with the high-powered offenses, the top 5 offenses, it's kind of like a rising tide lifts all boats. We saw it with both the Chiefs and the Bills. McKinnon was the kind of the pass-catching back, but just because he was on the field so much and they were scoring, he was, putting up, 18, 19 points a game through that stretch.
I'm just trying to draw the distinction between the Chiefs and the Bills, where the Chiefs some weeks will want a guy to salt the game, and some weeks for the Bills, that is Josh Allen salting the games. Like he's that guy who like whatever. He's adding 6 points on the ground, and you're like, damn, really would have liked Patterson.
Look at this sweet spot for quarterback here.
We're taking one of these 3 quarterbacks. Dak, there's plenty of options late.
Yep.
Prefer him most in a straight up sense. But and then it probably goes Stafford and then Carr. But really, I can see your exposures. Okay, so Carr went, so that kind of makes it easy.
That's fine. Yeah. Dak shouldn't be available at pick 117. What's going on here?
No, he shouldn't. And
wow. So talk this through, the big ADP value or the stack with Kupp?
I mean, when you take Kupp, you're kind of counting on Stafford to be that guy, but in the same sense, Kupp can score 2 touchdowns and Stafford only scored 20 points, where Dak gives you more on the ground. So honestly, I don't care between the two. And Dak has a lot of late options.
Yeah, let's play it through Dak. I mean, I think that immediately makes this team pretty unique here. And with how many quarterbacks are sliding, I don't know. Maybe Stafford continues to slide to us.
Yeah, and I would love that pairing too. I dropped a little in the private chat of a guy I like now. I mean, Dak to me should it makes no sense why this has been happening to Dak. I guess it's his tackle going down. Are people overreacting to that?
I'm not sure. It has to be that. That was the big news items. That's the only thing that could be a catalyst for
It's
that.
like that plus maybe all these pass catchers that people are trying to force in their minds. Maybe they just don't do it.
Hang on. I am off my game here with this night stream. There we go.
Well, I wanted to ask you, are you doing no ASMR pours for the late night crowd?
I know.
There's no beer over ice or anything?
I'm man, my house is a mess right now. I don't know where anything is.
You don't got the Keurig set up?
We could get the beverage props going for tonight's stream.
I'm sprinting for a beer after our next pick here.
Go for it. If there's one thing I can do, it's corral the chat by myself.
Oh, I like this like Tron setup you got for this background.
Well, I had done a couple of these and where I pre-recorded them. And so I could more talk through spots in a normal room. And I even invited you to do one of them for just the VIPs on my channel. And if you guys are YouTube members, there are a few of those in the archives just available to you guys. But I was like, I'm not doing the breakfast thing. We're pulling out the late night, getting the Tron, enter the Matrix.
You know who's on his late night energy. You knew who to invite.
I did. Yeah, you said you were going to be too drunk and to even come over here. I thought.
I wasn't sure. You know, you never know in a home league draft, things can go off the rails pretty quick.
That's right. Again, no one wants these quarterbacks. All right, dude, we get our guy.
I feel like we need to scoop. I feel like we need. Can you look at the running back tab?
I think we got to grab Stafford here, dude.
All right, let's do Stafford. Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nice pairing there. Dare I do it again while Liam's getting his drink? You're right, Kevin. Thank you. Kevin says, a recap for the audio listeners. I have been very poor at catching you guys up. I do post these on the In a Vacuum podcast feed. Our team right now through 11 rounds, we have our two quarterbacks, Dak Prescott and Matthew Stafford, both of which we got well after ADP. We got a 0 RB running back room going, just Antonio Gibson and James Cook at running back. We have the bully tight end, Mark Andrews and Darren Waller. And then our wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, Marquis Brown, Brandon Ayuk, and Christian Kirk. Pretty fun team. Done at quarterback, done at tight end. A couple more receivers and got to round out, hammer these running backs down the stretch. Rob says, why is Rojo going undrafted now? Rob, are you sitting down? I want you to have a seat. I don't know how to tell you this, but things aren't looking good for Rojo.
Dude, I need to sit down for this, man. I've still been taking him somewhat.
Me too.
He is really a guy who I'm like, okay, well, he could get cut and signed to a better team, you know?
Exactly. I know. It's, the ship chasing brand, Visca got cut. It was either we want you to land on the Chiefs or get cut. Leave it to Ronald Jones to do both. That's all we needed to happen there.
Dang. Don't like to see that Michael Gallup went.
Yeah. It's all right.
I think with this team, we should stop. We should either do 7 or 8 running backs.
Wow. An 8 running back. That
we could,
I guess with the bully tight end, we could get away with 6.
With the bully tight end and the quality of our 5 wide receivers, like we could push this group and just say, hey, we're going to take 8 shots at hitting basically the nuts at running back with chaos throughout the season. But I would say 7 is a more normal, just a 2-7-7-2 build is what kind of setting up for.
Yeah. 2-7-7-2. I mean, I think one of these has to be a random dart throw, Cowboys pass catcher. So
we can take a guy in the 18th, but there's all like, how are you feeling about a free falling Tolbert? I don't want to be the rookie talking about players, but the reports are negative about him. That's why he's falling.
Yeah, we don't talk about players. Pius says Visca traded to the Panthers. Correct.
Talk about that. Let me hear about that.
I mean, I think it's clearly an upgrade. I think it's clearly an upgrade. The Jags were done with him. He needed a change of scenery. Pat had some interesting stats he was sharing about how their other options in the slot were awful.
Could he be the new Jarvis for Baker?
I mean, that might be a little aspirational, but I think he has a pretty clear path to seeing.
I've drafted 0 this year. I've just been team Zay Jones.
Yeah, you and all the Zay Jones slappies. You guys fucking love Zay Jones.
Just
Why didn't
like
you guys start drafting Jamal Agnew? All the Zay Jones bros need to
Dude,
smooth
Jamal
out.
Agnew had some moments last year.
I know. Exactly. Harbs. How are you guys treating Spiller with the injury? This is a good question here. Robbie, I swear to God, Robbie. Boom. That's how you do it. Liam's trying to fucking talk about the guy.
Ask a little question.
Come on. Get out of here. Let's go back to Goose's
Did you move in the Soulcast jersey? That's what I have to know.
No, I literally just went up to my pile of shirts, and this one was on the top, and I was like, you know what? That's pretty fitting for my show with Liam tonight.
All right, you go first, Pete. How are you feeling about Spiller?
Yeah, I mean, I was drafting him a ton in the 130s. I was drafting Rachaad White, and then right after him, I was grabbing Spiller a ton. And it's not just the injury with Spiller too, right? It was that he's been playing behind Joshua Kelly, a little bit behind Roundtree. I'm pretty spooked on him. He's not a guy that I'm really going out of my way to dollar cost average down as much. How are you treating him?
I've capitulated, and I've taken some Josh Kelly, some of the high stakes. Taken a share or two of Spiller as he's fallen, but mostly just fading that. And I don't know. It's probably just the big three for the Chargers: Ekeler, Allen, Mike Williams.
No Palmer for you?
Palmer is a guy who had a ton last year, and Palmer too. I'd throw Palmer in the mix. I mean, Everett will have his weeks, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, like probably not a situation It's so hard, man, because if they kept Justin Jackson, like I love Justin Jackson has been like 80% of Ekeler, right? Like he's like caught balls.
He got blackballed by the league.
No, he didn't get blackballed. He's signed by the Lions.
Justin Jackson?
Yeah, no, that was someone else. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, hang on. Let's see here. What have you been?
I like well, let's see what happens here. Click on the wide receiver tab. Let's see who's there in case there's a tier.
Nico, KJ Osborne. I mean, I can't take KJ Hamler.
Yeah, no. Let's do Herbert.
Yeah.
I like Herbert most out of this group.
Yeah. I think it's close between him and Algier. I like both.
Algier, I get it. He scored 2 touchdowns in the preseason, but I like Cordell Patterson.
Yeah.
Herbert could potentially be like a ground and pound running back on a really bad team where like Patterson, at least he's catching balls. He's got the optimism of being like the number 2 pass catcher at the wide receiver position ish. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like how many red zone carries will Algier even have?
Yeah.
And he free falls in a lot of drafts too. He's a guy you can get in the 160s to 170s.
Hang on a second. Cameron says, why does Liam look like an 8th grade Josh Allen? I will never be able to unsee that. Hang on.
I've gotten that.
Put up your cheers. I'm getting a screenshot of this.
I've gotten that from random people before. Like I remember when I used to work for chess.com, I did a sales trip out in San Diego, and these Bills fans were like, you look like Josh Allen. And I've told people that. They're like, some people think I look like Josh Allen. They're like, no, you don't. I don't really see it, but I hear that sometimes.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I see it tonight. Let's get back to
this like scruff. Both of us cannot grow real beards.
No, this is, the nice part is I don't have to shave. Once a week is about all I need.
Have you built any 6 wide receiver teams?
Definitely plenty of 7s. I don't know if I have the constitution, the dog in me to do 6.
I've done some 6 wide receiver teams, but I did it when ETN was I got ETN in the 7th.
Okay.
And so it's like start with 6, ETN anchor, and it was like wheels up. You could do that for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I remember just facing some playoff teams that basically if you're just like nutted at wide receiver, it does not matter your roster construction.
Right.
Pete, do you have any cats? You got to answer.
No,
that.
Hang on. Now, do I look like a cat guy? Is that how I project? I look like I just have a bunch of cats walking around back here.
I like cats, man. Cats are cool.
I mean,
I
I
like
don't
dogs
have
too.
anything.
I'm an
against-
animal person, to be clear. Some people are very clearly one side of the aisle.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Hard Knocks? Like, I feel like the lesson from Hard Knocks is if there's anyone that's fantasy relevant from the Hard Knocks team, draft that player early because they will get a 2-bump jump in August.
Oh yeah. I mean, it sucks because we were supposed to have a whole August of getting to draft Amon-Ra around Ayuk and Elijah Moore, and you just get your pick of these second-year wide receivers. And then Hard Knocks was like, nah. He now goes in the 4th round, and that is the
Amon-Ra had that
pay.
one like psychopath quote that's like naming all the wide receivers drafted above him, and you're like, okay, dog. You're like, and you know every creator from ever would jump on that.
I feel like that's
kind of weird because like Hard Knocks like does not talk up DeAndre Swift that nice, but I think DeAndre Swift is like just really good at football.
I feel like that would be a Key and Peele sketch if they were still recording, where it's like the NFL player who remembers every single player he ever played against his entire life, all the way down to like kindergarten.
I think we should be between like we should maybe go Mostert with the recent news.
Yeah, Sony Michel cut.
Yeah, I mean that. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, the Mostert case has always been obvious. It's always been clear, right? And it could be like on the ground. It wouldn't shock me if the Dolphins play the Patriots that way. But the Michel cutting was a little surprise. I mean, maybe it shouldn't have been because he failed a physical, and then the Dolphins like immediately signed him after the failed physical with the Saints, where it seemed like maybe they just like were like, "Fuck it, we're gonna sign you. I don't care about your physical." And then we heard nothing about him like all camp.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought early on in the offseason, Pat had kind of sold me that on Sony Michel kind of being their goal line back, which it made sense when you.
I mean, he could so easily go back to the Rams, right? Like that could happen.
But do you know what other thought I was just having, Liam? Just talking about you running pure. Not only did you win Best Ball Mania 2, but all of your players, your brand guys, and the players who carried you to that in week 17, everything's broken perfectly for those guys. I mean, Amon-Ra getting steamed up. Rashad Penny now has a fast runway without Kenneth Walker early on. I mean, Gabe Davis still the talk of the town. I mean, you ran so pure on your brand plays.
I mean, and I think it's given me a bit much to like pretend like Amon-Ra. I did not have I think I got scared off of Amon-Ra. Like that was a lesson for me where like early on in the draft season, I was like, he could be the Lions number 2 after like TJ. And then I think I read some like Twitter people and they're like, we don't think Amon-Ra is good at football. And I was like, oh, you know, like that was a lesson for me. Like just look at the top down.
Zamir?
Who's left here? Yeah, I think we go Zamir. I mean, like, I don't know. Jameson Williams is a guy I really want to draft, but
yeah,
let's just do Zamir. Like, do you have conviction that I know Jameson is good at football? Do you have conviction Zamir is? I kind of do.
I don't have conviction on Zamir White, but what I have conviction on is Josh McDaniels doesn't seem to like Josh Jacobs, and he does really seem to like Zamir White. The problem is like Amir Abdul is going to be a problem here.
Well, that's the thing is like I think Zamir, we're really hoping he like sneaks 2 on the ground.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm inclined to go Jameson there because I can convince myself on any running back between the rounds 16 through 18. I cannot always do the same with wide receiver, you know?
Yeah. I thought what happened to Mr. 6 wide receiver bro over here angling for Jameson Williams, although Jameson does fit perfectly on a build like this.
Well, I mean, I didn't know if we were doing 8 or 6 wide receivers.
I want the Liam experience. If you can push me out of my comfort zone with
we can do. I mean, look, we could do 6 with this group because it's really like we drafted 5 studs at wide receiver. And
Well, and the way I think about it is Waller's our tight end, and Mark Andrews is one of our flex wide receivers that we just took
exactly.
in the third
So
round.
we need five. We need 3 of 5 each week at wide receiver, pretty much. And like, if Jalen Tolbert is anything, hallelujah.
Yeah.
And then at quarterback, what we're kind of expecting like a 20-point floor with a bunch of 25-point weeks. So
Yeah.
like we're feeling real strong at quarterback. These are like how I like to build teams. And sometimes you're gonna miss on the running back contingencies that you add in late, and sometimes you're not going to. How do you feel about the later round wide receivers versus running backs in this year's draft landscape? Because it feels
To me, it's
kind
not
of
even
balanced
close.
to me. It's
Really?
kind of balanced this year, I feel.
I'm way
Not
more
too late.
picky.
But like at this, like KJ Hamler, Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I like those guys. Though you name like 2 of the guys. I mean, I'll take Paris Campbell. I'll take some David Bell. But
Yeah, those are
it's
grosser dudes.
yeah, but when I can go through, like, I can give you 6 or 7 running backs who aren't getting drafted, and most of these, and tell you a story where they're getting 20 plus points down the stretch. Like, it's just such an easier sell for me.
I feel like more often you will hit a wide receiver where you can fool yourself and be like, look at me. I drafted a wide receiver. He averaged 10 points for the season. But the times that you win the tournament is when you hit on those running backs that are doing what you said. Like, they're giving you those 20-point weeks. And that is like, that's so key at running back, where other people could just legitimately be eating zeros in your playoff brackets.
Joe, I'm going to address this once and for all because you spam this in my chat. What feels like once a day for the past 13 days. I am not looking up my draft on 8/16 at 11:30 p.m. I was in with you in saucing your team. Okay. I'm not doing that. If you want to become a YouTube member and join the Discord, maybe I'll do it for you there, but you got to stop with this bit, man.
God bless you, Joe. Please subscribe, become a member. I'm going to gift you a membership if you don't, honestly. That'll be my gift back.
Team. It went from sauce my team to sauce my team from fucking 13
Pete,
days
look
ago.
up the 8/16 draft. That you have reached another level of stardom. That is what your group has going on here.
What's your thought? What's your take on TDP right here?
Let me see the running back tier.
Yeah.
And the wide receiver.
And I just am curious about your TDP just in general.
I have a lot of TDP. I think we either go Curtis Samuel. If we're going 7 wide receivers, I want Samuel. If we're not, let's take TDP and just go all running backs.
I want your, because I think both are very intriguing to me. You kind of sold me on the Samuel stuff, and it's a little
I feel
correlated.
like with the recent news, I already was feeling Samuel could eat into running back carries. Just like look at that season 2 years ago, man, where he was legitimately Deebo Samuel before Deebo Samuel was Deebo Samuel.
Right.
Like he was like weak Deebo Samuel. And I don't know, maybe he's not good anymore. Maybe, but I really just think he was unhealthy last year. And
yeah,
I think he actually does have a 4.27 40. Let me look this up.
The other thing too about the reason I don't mind passing on TDP is because I also really like Jeff Wilson, and I actually think Jeff Wilson.
Well, that is the
right
thing.
Now.
It's like that's really the thing. Is like, all right, Curtis Samuel 4.31 40.
You now look it up because you know the chat will catch you if you get the wrong.
Yeah, I know. I can't just say numbers off the cuff. No, TDP is a guy I got a lot of, but Jeff Wilson recently is giving me some pause. Trey Sermon, like, can't tell if he's being showed to be cut or if he's being showed because they want him. And like San Francisco is one of those teams where we're often like, we don't have the info we think we have about that team, you know, where it's like, oh, this is the order. And then it's like, these 2 guys got cut or they're benched or whatever. So definitely going to finish with 2 running backs here.
Yeah.
I'm not so convinced Darryl is dead. Like, it's kind of seemed like they were co-playing this most recent week. Let's take Dontrell Hilliard. How you feel?
Okay, now this is what I like. I mean, you're getting a little bring back, a guy that is probably the number 2 there that I clearly have not taken enough. I am sold.
Yeah, let's take it. I mean, I could tell you perked up because it's literally any name that's not the chalk of what you've been doing.
Exactly.
And that feels good from your perspective too, because it's like, holy shit, I'm getting different. And like, I feel you there where it's like, sometimes I fall in my ways. I'm like, well, this is the best value late in the draft. But Hilliard's been a guy I've been taking a lot of all off season. He's been drafted a little bit more recently. To me, the thesis is like, if we're not drafting Derrick Henry, which I pretty much have not been, we need to take Haskins or Hilliard. And Hilliard like gave us some spike weeks last year, got like 10 targets in a game, is a bring back, so he's a guy I like.
I think the hard thing with some of those backfields too is where you do want to kind of further leverage that fade, like you mentioned with Henry, but it's getting tricky to know who the handcuffs are in some.
It's like Arizona to me. Arizona and Tennessee I view as like similarly high valued backfields, but I do have questions about who it is. Like, would it really shock you if Keontae Ingram is like the second coming of Christ and you're like, God damn it, we were drafting Eno Benjamin over him? No.
I mean, nothing would shock me in that regard.
No, exactly.
And that's why then it goes back to that whole thing of, prioritizing talent, who actually could put up the 20+ week, the Rashad Penny, if you will. We always knew Rashad Penny had the talent. I mean, he was a first round pick, explosive rusher. It was just, he's made of glass. But you knew if he got 20+ touches in a game, he'd rip off. The thing that makes it tough with like the 49ers is like, I don't think TDP or Wilson are that guy as far as.
I think Wilson is if he exclusively is the back that week.
Right. But that's, again, the argument's volume based, which I'll buy with any running back. But I'm saying like none of those guys are.
Well, but it's kind of like getting in the head of the team. Like it's much easier to play offense than defense in the NFL, right? So if a team wants to run the football, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Rams a little bit, just kind of like draft the pieces to make that happen. But I agree. Like Jeff Wilson is not a guy I've been smashing. TDP I've cooled off just because I have so much.
Yeah.
At infinite exposure above what he's going at, or he kind of like has been going this range the whole time. And I mean, I'm with you. Like, I'd rather go off the board with this running back because there's a guy I probably like 2% less that is drawing equally live, and is being drafted at 0% compared to that. I don't know.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, so we're now headed toward one of my favorite builds, the 2772, and what I think is super fun.
I know a guy I want to take for this team.
Okay. I'll let you sit on that there. But the reason I really like this team, I just feel like the two quarterbacks who, yes, they're not in the elite tier, but they're studs. And to get them at these prices, it almost like washes out anything we were behind at with the double elite tight end, where sometimes you're going to feel if we did that and got the Hurts or the Kyler, we're maybe starting to feel behind. And I feel like we got completely bailed out getting these quarterbacks. So
yeah, and double elite tight end for me for playoff weeks is one of the easiest ways to get a team to the finals. Where if a Waller or a Kittle scores 30 points in week 15, 16, you're advancing. Let's go. The guy with the Rams,
Kyron. Yes. That's enough. And I will say Akers was back at practice today, but that still doesn't mean he's fully good.
Whatever, right? Like he's drafted at 0%.
And the fact I was just going to say the fact that the team sat him out of their preseason game as a rookie, that told me a lot.
That should be some news we're buying. Like he's another guy who like the analytics community just decided is bad. And I had a little shares earlier in the offseason, cooled off when he broke his foot. But it's like Jeff Wilson from last year. It's like guy, good team, kind of wants to run the ball in the Rams. Potentially stacks with Stafford, where maybe he's the pass catching guy. If Henderson or Akers goes down or whatever, and almost never getting taken in an 18-round format.
Yep. All right, let's see. Why don't we got one more pick here, and then this draft comes to a close. I'm going to get this temporarily.
How many
labeled
drafts
because
is this up for you?
that was my 129th.
Okay, so you're closing in.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick it up a little bit. I have a crazy stretch.
You'll
I go
get
to
there.
Vegas.
You got 10
I'll get
days.
there.
You'll do like 2 one day, and you'll be fine.
So give me the full rundown on this team. This is
All right.
for doing a stream draft. This was actually came out pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is how I like to build teams a lot of times. So we got double elite quarterback, double elite tight end, where we're just counting that for advance rate purposes, we're really separating from our group of 12. At wide receiver, we have 5 unquestioned studs. And I would say we have 4 wide receiver ones on their respective team. Ayuk is not the pass catcher one for the 49ers, but comfortably feels like 4-ish to 5-ish really strong spike weeks. And then Tolbert and Samuel is like, could be some gasoline on the fire. Like they could really do it. 2 high upside guys, a rookie. And then our running backs, we threw 7 at the board, where I think Gibson, Cook, Herbert, Mostert, White definitely give us early week appeal in that 5. Hilliard maybe is like, he really would not shock me if Hilliard catches 4 balls week 1. Also wouldn't shock me if it's just Derrick Henry and then Hilliard is pure contingent. And then Williams, maybe he's later season, maybe he's whatever. The combo of Williams and Hilliard drafted together is probably 1. Like we probably have one of the only teams that have done that. So that feels good in a 455,000 person contest. Ultimately, a winning team. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and tell your parents about this draft.
What are we up to? So Liam up to 852. I mean, we need more. I'm dropping Liam's YouTube handle here again into the chat. Subscribe to Liam's feed. I'll be over there on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll be drafting another Best Ball Mania 3 team. What numbered draft do you think that's going to be for you?
In the 140s, I don't know. Sometimes I do drafts later night, but before we close out here, you give us your, walk us through the team from your perspective. The picks you really like, the picks, whatever, like I gave my view, but let's hear the Pete view.
Yeah, no, I really like this team. And I like that, again, I talk about how I get pushed out of my comfort zone. I'm not a big bully tight end guy unless I'm generally getting an extreme value. I was doing some Kelsey Pitts teams because Pitts would like fall to super late 3rd or early 4th. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I'll do it in those instances, but I don't normally build that way. And so it was fun to get off that track. And then, the guy in me wanting those elite QBs was tilting as we watch Hurts and Lance and Kyler go off the board. And so then I'm like, all right, we might get funneled toward a 3 QB build. Maybe we get Carr or whatever. And the way that Dak and Stafford fell into our lap there.
That's like, so, I mean, Stafford at 125. I'm happy that you firmly stamp that. Last knee-jerk question from you.
Yes.
Do you have a lean for what type of draft strategy you like at this point in the offseason between 0 RB or heavy RB? I kind of see the point for 0 RB with the sense that compared to teams in earlier drafted, if you don't get the wide receiver firepower, plus they're hitting on some 0 RB targets, like you're just getting pointed. So you just need to gamble that you're getting better 0 RB targets at this point in the offseason. It's kind of how I feel about it. But what do you think?
No, and I agree because, all of the guys, Hilliard and Kyron weren't getting drafted throughout the offseason. We have an information edge on the teams who were drafting earlier, and they were taking Hassan Haskins, and they weren't drafting a third Rams running back. And so I really do like that element of it. I was drafting Mostert early, and then I like really cooled off because I got pretty spooked by how they just kept bringing in guys. And now you get that information coming back around again. I mean, Mostert, he went at pick 164 here. I mean, the Sony news just broke today. I imagine we see Mostert creep up 10, 15, maybe 20 spots.
In my home league, he went in like the 7th round.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm with you. I mean, the problem with me is I like zero RB early and I like it late.
I mean, you could always convince yourself on the zero RB, like the lottery tickets at running back position.
Yeah. All right. Here's the deal. Fucking Joe called my bluff. We got to
look at that team. Come on now.
And here's the deal. I did go and find this team. This was a draft. I apparently also had the 1-5 in here.
Epoch Joe?
This is Epoch Joe here from the 10 hole. Joe has literally been asking me to sauce. Joe, can I ask a follow-up question?
I really wish I could play the NFL like ESPN music, like na.
Here's my question, and what is your guess on this? Has Joe just fired a single bullet? Or he just wants to know because we were in this draft together. I was like, why this specific draft? Well, because I have access to it.
Joe, give us the amount of drafts you've done this year. Please tell the people.
So let's look at this team. You talked about an anchor ETN build earlier in the offseason. I think you mentioned 6th, 7th round. He does get the anchor here in the 4th. CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore at pick 34. That's nice. ETN, Darnell Mooney, Elijah Moore. All right, we got a piss boy on our hands. Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, similar kind of quarterback window as us tonight. Edmonds at 87. CPAT Gainwell, Chark, Khalil Herbert, Njoku, Ingram, Hooper. So did get boxed out on early tight end. So cranked it there. Curtis Samuel, Kyle Phillips. I really wanted to roast
every
this guy.
Pick. Yeah. Like every guy is a guy I draft a lot, except I'm out on these contingent Tennessee pieces in Hooper and Phillips. Where, tight end is anyone can sell themselves any story at tight end, and that's a great thing about it. And we all have guys we gravitate towards, but like Hooper, I'm out on. I don't know. Kyle Phillips, I just don't think they run that much slot. Maybe they do. Maybe he forces their hand. But every other player I like quite a bit that he drafted. So, Joe, it was worth the membership. You now also can check into the Ship Chasing Discord, which is a really plus EV place to be. Ship Chasing Discord in Pete's channel. You would have learned about the rake-free FFBC today. I learned about that in there. I learned about things in there.
I hate to burst your bubble, but that's a separate membership because they're separate YouTube channels.
Separate membership, Joe. Take a second mortgage out and get that one.
Another one of your teams. You could double up. I will say too. I mean, always sexy when you get the premium stacks, right? Derek Carr to Devontae Adams, Dak Prescott to CeeDee Lamb. The other thing you can tell by this draft, he let it come to him too. He wasn't reaching hard to go get these guys, was staying within these ADPs here. Got Adams to slide to 15. Curtis Samuel at 202
after. Man, I'm trying to win.
Yeah. All right, Joe, you did it, man. You became a member. You wanted us to sauce your team, and then we just said we liked it. So I don't know what did I do in this draft?
Yeah, let's look at your team there.
Okay, so here's my classic. Back on my bullshit. 2772. Trey Lance and Joe Burrow. Who did I get it with? Chase. Okay, I got the premium. Chase, Higgins, and Gabe with the bring back. Debo, and then the Waller bring back. This is a nice team. I don't want to.
It's a nice team. Sermon is either a smash or cut and out of the NFL. I really have no idea. It's wild how much I feel certain people do know how rosters would shake down if they knew, if they had any sort of plug-in, and everyone else is just guessing, which I am in that boat. Really nice zero RB candidates you have too. You need Waller to be that guy most weeks, but Fant, I love as a give me 3 to 4 spike weeks.
Yeah. I got the premium. Yeah, I forgot I had chat pointing out I had Boyd too. So I got Boyd at 116 here. So Burrow.
How do you
double
feel
stack,
recently about
or triple
Moore
stack?
and MVS?
Man, I'm torn on that. I've been taking more. Let me see what my exposures are at with these guys.
I was taking
15% more, 12.6% MVS.
I think like if you made me choose one, I think I'd choose MVS, but I have a lot of more too.
Yeah, it kind of goes back, not quite the same, but similar to the James Cook and Devin Singletary thing, where I feel
100%. Yeah,
we kind of know what MVS is. We know he's gonna have some big fucking games with Mahomes. Like that's a given.
it's just like me trying to be like, I think Mahomes is that much better than Rodgers, which is like maybe not true. I don't know.
Yeah, and
or at least for MVS, you know.
But in Sky Moore's range of outcomes is stuff like Juju gets hurt. Sky Moore's just really fucking good, and he has a 25% target share. Kelsey's old, and like Sky Moore could be that dude down the stretch. So it's a little more tantalizing. Where we know MVS can't be that. He's not.
I'm glad that we're both getting buried by CEH. So that's one for master and teacher, whoever's wearing whatever hat there.
Glad that you guys enjoyed this late night stream. Liam and I have been trying to coordinate these for a little while now, and now you guys will get 2 streams with us this week. Liam, what else do you have going on? You've been pumping out all kinds of stuff. Do you got any other programming this week?
No idea. Might do a couple more streams. Really, I mean, I need to like do 60 more drafters, 60 more DK, something like that. When do you leave for Vegas?
I leave, a week from Wednesday. Yeah.
I might be there. I might not be.
You should, dude. We got a good crew.
I really want to be there, but there's like a wedding. I'm trying to, whatever. I'm trying to sort it all out. But thanks so much for having me on, Pete. This was a blast. I feel like our team is good. I feel like it's good considered the time of the season that we're drafting. We're about to get a bunch of news. Like tomorrow is cut down day.
Yeah.
So if you are someone who's drafting, I would recommend drafting as soon as you have cut down news, because every year there's players that we think are going to play out a certain way, and then they're on the street, and I would take advantage of that news immediately.
Yep. Good words of wisdom there from the champ. Hopefully this draft will live in infamy in the way.
Let's revisit it, man, when we're shipping it.
We will do it. Thank you for sending that 1275. Good to have that on the books. We appreciate you guys. I will be back tomorrow. We got Club Top Shot Tuesday night. And then, of course, I will be back with Liam on Thursday on his channel for another BBM3 draft. Have a great night. This has been Best Ball After Dark.